point forward. My apologies. And we're back.
All right.
So this is actually the new start where Joe is about to take over, present on the R.A.V, show some absolutely next level. Well, I'm just let you take it over because.
Yep, I'm gonna spew. Take 5 minutes, show you some stuff, and then Bernie and I are gonna go into this hard. All right. So the point that me and Bernie were talking about has to do with the R.A.V formation and the deposition that occurs within the clay surface as the R.A.V forms. So for those of you that don't know what the R.A.V is a self-sustained plasma that's in a pulsating state, but it's also in atmosphere, which has never really been done before, and here we are doing it. The way that we accomplish it is by separating differentials, and we do that by taking positive, negative, hot, cold, diffuse, and focused, amongst other things, and separating them between an insulative membrane, which in this particular case is ceramic. And the ceramic is on the cathode side, suspended in water, so there's a moisture element to it, that the moisture gets to the porosity of the clay, and the negative bias is put into the water, but also electrolysis takes place on the cathode side, so you have a hydrogen component that occurs. More or less what we're dealing with, and what I want to focus on today, is a critical component of this R.A.V formation, which is this channel that forms in the membrane, the ceramic membrane. So there's a relationship that exists between the anode and the cathode, and the cathode has a pretty easy time bringing its charged water with a negative bias and hydrogen, charged hydrogen, through the clay, and the anode has a hard time passing through. What ends up happening is the anode is making ionic atmosphere, right? Oxygen, nitrogen, but it's also picking up some elements from the anode itself. And because the anode is stainless steel, the primary constituents there are going to be iron, chromium, and nickel. So those ions are actually being put into the clay, and then drawn into the clay by the cathode, because there's an exchange that has to come in here. It's exchanging ions of matter, okay, for electrons from the water and the hydrogen, and that's the exchange that takes place. And as this exchange takes place, the electrons start to feed the anode, but the ions keep on burrowing through the material. And what that does is it creates a deposition of the ions in the clay structure, creating a channel which this exchange can more easily occur. And that deposition of the oxygen, nitrogen, iron, nickel, and chromium, okay, on the anode side, at the uppermost layers, that's going to form oxides, metal oxides. And then there's going to be a gradient over to the cathode side, where it forms metal hydroxides, I believe. And that allows for this clean passage of positive and negative energy through this channel to allow for an equilibrium state, even though it's asymmetric. It automatically reaches equilibriums. Now, it's important to note that you have the cathode going this way, and you have the anode going that way, and you have current vectors that are the same but opposite. Okay, but when they meet, okay, they loop. All right, so when that anode side finally makes it through to the cathode side, it loops, and that loop changes the relationship from parallel to 45 degrees, like this. And as soon as that 45 degrees kicks in, you have your third vector. You have a center vector that creates a magnetism. That magnetism is compression. Okay, it scoops up that plasma, both the anodic plasma and the cathodic plasma, which is mostly hydrogen, and it compresses it. And that's something that occurs. Now, that doesn't occur until this channel is formed and until the anode could actually penetrate all the way through that membrane, and creating that deposition channel. And that's what's super fascinating about it. Now, it's like I was saying before, uh, there's certain attributes of this that could easily be exploited as is. But one of the things that are most fascinating to me is the idea of building the rotating, resonating, multi-layered, cavitating plasma orb in the middle of a piece of quartz crystal. Because if you're able to form the cathode within the quartz crystal, then the RAV will form inside of it. And once you do that, okay, then you have a situation where the piezoelectric effect of the quartz itself could potentially act as the anode and sustain the reaction without any sort of input whatsoever. And that's sort of where we left off, and that's really cool. But like I said, there's certain attributes that are super interesting. Like for instance, this I was able to form the RAV inside of the quartz, which took some time, by the way. But once it formed inside, it's out of resonance, and I kind of knew this. And because it was out of resonance, it broke the lattice structure of the quartz and annihilated it. But that said, before it was fully annihilated, it was breaking apart, and there were certain anomalies that were observed, such as its self-healing. like,
Fire,
which,
like this literally was like a mini tiny first like attempt and proving of the dark crystal reference of breaking it apart, and hopefully well, it showed that it was trying to like put itself back together, whether that's time space or just doing itself like thing,
you
right?
got me, bud. You got me, buddy.
Right, but it's like now the next goal is like, shit, we did that, we don't really ever want to do that again, but we want to take it to just to the almost breaking point and instead be able to transmute it into the next process and through the piezoelectric reaction through it.
Definitely getting a piezoelectro reaction from this in the first place. Now that said, because the arc is going to overwhelm that, it tends to be like this recycling amplification that occurs, which is very cool, but it also likes to blow the circuits in whatever you're using too, because material overload is a real thing. Even though you would think this is a one-way flow, this is continuous exchange. And just the same as you're getting electrons off of hydrogen in many cases, like I described, in this particular case, you're you're getting your electrons off of a piezoelectric effect, which is way crazier and more, it's faster is what it is, than hydrogen is in this particular circumstance, when the hydrogen's choked by basically you know the clay, which is restricting it, right? The clay is acting as a governor in terms of how fast it can be able to be pulled out, whereas the the quartz, it knows no bounds.
I love this, and I'm keeping my mouth shut to let you fully explain everything, and then I'm adding my thoughts because this is next level.
So if you, I'm gonna make it bigger on my screen. Go back a little bit to before it starts breaking up totally. I'm gonna tell you when to stop, and then we're gonna do a reverse and like a slow reversal and stuff. A little bit before that. Okay, a little bit more. Yep. You could fast forward it.
Live truthing, science, buffering.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's been at that stage for a long time, but this is actually a good frame to be stuck on, because what you could see is that the arc is actually entering in, but it wasn't. It was exiting at a different spot, so you know it's going through it, and it is going through it on multiple occasions. Now, right now, it's actually formed inside of it. All right. Now, I'm watching the top left corner. I'm watching the top left corner real quick, Bernie. Hang on. It's okay. Oh, now it broke. Well, there's a spot before that the top left corner broke off and fell, but then replaced itself back in place. So it's high strangeness stuff, man. But that might not actually be the full video now that I'm thinking about it. I think that's Nathan's edited version.
Yeah, I think it's definitely not the full video.
Yeah. But nonetheless, I mean, you get the gist here. I mean, it gets in there, it builds in there, and then it blows apart. But what's crazy is that left top left corner,
like right there,
it's like a sharp left corner.
Like liquidish plasma coming out, but like, is it crystal or just like discharge first before it like fully? It's
well, what you can see here is, look, did you see that the R.A.V was still maintained in a piece of crystal directly under the arc, but the part that was behind it was also still fully luminescent. Okay, and that's how you know it still had a relationship with the R.A.V at that point. It was still actually within the confines of that crystal structure, even though it was displaced. And that's why they both blew up simultaneously. So you could see, right, the back piece is still lit up. That's because it has a R.A.V in it, bro. Bernie, did I lose you?
Oh, sorry, I don't know, I muted there. But like, right, so here at the beginning, how it's yellow, red as it's the R.A.V's first entering and you're first getting the energy in, right? And then the final reaction when it's like reaching the critical, in regards to the R.A.V energy in, you're getting saturated to the point of super saturated as that fully white light at the end, and then that piece that still remained white was what was remaining.
Right. Right now there's like plasma inside of it, right? But it's not at such a high density state that the R.A.V is forming inside of it.
Right, and then it's like it rejects it at points there too, and it instantly goes back to the ultraviolets as it, right, when it's around it. And
now right there, it's in. It just entered into the wall, and that's it. Now it's inside. Now you can start seeing bits and pieces fly off of it, and even though it might be a somewhat thermal reaction,
but it looks like molten crystal essentially, but it's like, is it plasma, is it light, is it silicon, like right, it's this, what is that?
Here's where it gets crazy, is that I picked up a big chunk of it right off the table that had just blown off of it. Immediately following, I licked my fingers, gave it like one of those to hear if it would give it. Well, let's put it this way, man, it was slightly over body temperature.
Wow, really?
Yeah, and by the way, at that time that I picked it up like that, it had been under arc for 8 minutes.
Okay, so you're gonna have to sadly dark crystal a few more times, but like the next time the same reaction, but with like the full heat camera, high frame rate sort of
Yeah.
recording.
Well, no, I have high frame rate on this and
Nice.
HD.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
this is
I have 4K 60 on this. But as far as the IR goes, I don't have IR. So
fair enough. We got to get you. We will have to get you to that at some point. But another thing you got to do is then try to be able to replicate at some point with just the pure copper or the pure iron metal in the clay deposit ones and collect. And for every reaction, take instant sample, like in clean jar, like untainted jars or whatever the heck, to isolate them so that eventually you can look at them under high microscope, as well as hopefully get some mass spectrometry and whatnot done.
yeah, right on.
Got to build references of it and see if we can repeat it. And it's like, I suspect that some of those crystals of like the hydrogen and the compounds that you're going to start collecting and forming will end up to be repeatable with specific elements where I'll have some similar ones with them, as well as other new ones that you'll be able to start classifying and working out on an element to element basis when it's just copper or it's just iron or it's just plate. No,
All right.
chromium.
So I'm gonna say something that I haven't really said before because um even though I knew it to be true in some cases, I'm starting to think that it's a little bit more widespread than I originally thought. But once you start these types of reactions, um, whatever it is that forms the reactions in the first place, seems to embed itself into the materials that are involved in its creation. And I thought that originally that might be isolated to the, um, whatever I'm energizing and the stone or piece of clay, and maybe the anode at best. But I was using a Tesla coil to create that reaction. Okay, and I unfortunately now every time I run the test for short duration, it's blowing up my circuits. It's overloading my circuits. Everything is overcharged. So I think that whatever it is actually permeated into my electrical equipment, um, generally speaking, as far as like the energy potentials are concerned. I think that that's what happened. It has a memory, it goes away, but it quickly returns. And when it returns, it overloads the systems. So I just replaced my PNP circuit, did nothing crazy, and at a very low voltage, seemingly either nuked my power supply or my PNP, almost instantaneously.
Which
So,
should not be happening. They're like, but
and I started working on this one piece of quartz that did not blow up. And the smell of ozone was like, like I like the smell of ozone, but like everything in moderation, right? You don't want to be breathing that shit in. Everybody knows that. Long and short, the smell of ozone off this thing was insane because it was breaking the SiO3 apart. And it was fracturing it on the inside, in accordance with its deposition, its ionic deposition. And it made it like a hologram on the inside that's very hard to show on camera. I've tried to photograph it, it's very hard. And ever since I did that one particular piece, that's not this piece that you're seeing in the video, um, like the whole entire system has just wanted to blow up. That one blew up 2 circuits, and ever since I haven't been experimenting with it since, and my circuits are still working and then failing rapidly. So I need to figure that out, but That's sort of what I'm dealing with at the moment.
Try it and find out. Experiment and find out, and then do it.
Well, I
all
think it's embedding. I think there's definitely a reverse speed on this, and we know it has like some kind of memory capability. And I'm just thinking that reverse feed is also like it's ready to produce more energy all the time. So as soon as I power up my system, then even if the main component that overloaded in the first place isn't present, it still has the potential of it, stored, and then it's just amplifying, and that's it. Like it's a theory. It's a little out there, but
I get what you're saying, and I have some crazy ideas to potentially test it, but I'm not going to get into that quite yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's not much different than thunderstorm generator, how they say, well, you could run it almost like without the system as long as you have the pipe, because the pipe has memory. You could run it for a certain amount of time because it has a half-life, it has a charge, it's more or less radioactive. It's just passively radioactive. And then once you initiate the initial configuration that it was built under, well, then it restores, brings it back, get the same effect. I'm thinking the same thing that's happening here, to be honest. It's just more widespread than I would have thought. I thought it would have been isolated to the reaction zone, but it's not. It seems to be permeating the entire electrical system.
It's wild. So we
Crazy.
got the donut up right now. Do you want to explain the donut?
I don't know what donut that is.
Fair enough. Also, hold on.